are watching Pausing with Erik. We pause for a second or two. How do we keep life coherent when so much is changing? This is episode 278, Free Speech and Hate Speech. For today's episode, we are making use of this wood cube. Weight and balance. Weight and balance is an acute skill. It is a skill that is useful for whenever we are startled, caught off guard, or suddenly approached. This is the image for acute skill, weight and balance. It is a spinning top, like one of those toys. So the spinning top is a good symbol in that when we spin a spinning top, we may put a lot of energy into it. We may spin the spinning top with a lot of motion, a lot of energy. But it looks like the spinning top is sort of staying still. So it's full of energy, but it looks like it's not moving. It's a very powerful symbol that the spinning top has both weight and balance. We pause and check if we are light or heavy, and if we are leaning forwards or backwards. Weight and balance is how we center our body, down and middle. So these two sort of descriptions, how we pause with it and what it is here. These two descriptions sort of describe one and the same practice, weight and balance. So now when you see me sit here, you can see that I now get in touch with my actual physical weight. how it feels down into the chair, my arm on the table, my feet on the floor, my body against the chair. And we pause and check if we are light or heavy. That's the weight part in weight and balance. Often we make ourselves lighter than we really are. We're scared to claim our actual weight. We walk sort of on tiptoes. We sort of do not allow our heel to sort of ground or connect with the ground. At other times we feel depressed and feel too heavy and make ourselves heavier than we actually are. And the consequences then is that we do not really have the energy to do anything. We're just too heavy. And leaning forwards or backwards, that's the balance part. Like the spinner here, or the spinning top. It's neither leaning forwards or backwards, it's centered. Down and middle. Down into the ground in the mid sort of intersection. And because it is centered, it's neither leaning forwards or backwards. Because it is centered, it can carry this great energy, this big energy. It's sort of like a state of mind, almost, to have weight and balance, to have our personal weight and balance. My weight is so and so, my balance is so and so. It's almost like connecting with some sort of intuition, some sort of physiological, age-old intuition, the intuition of our bodies. And a lot of distraction, a lot of confusion, a lot of acuteness, or not acuteness, a lot of panic or stress sort of makes no sense when we are in touch with this intuition, weight and balance. It's very wise, but it's not really us have to be wise. It's sort of our bodies just knowing what is right. So we will make use of weight and balance today when talking about free speech and hate speech. Because these two terms now, free speech and hate speech, they are sort of focused a lot. We focus a lot on free speech and hate speech, and a lot about our public sort of discussion right now is about what is most important out of these two, free speech and hate speech. I do not really know if these two are logical, if they are a logical pair of opposites necessarily, but that's at least how they are treated in this time. That we either focus more on free speech or on hate speech. Or curbing hate speech, maybe. Promoting free speech or curbing hate speech, maybe. So I think it might be a good disposition on this episode if we talk about these three things. So it looks like there are two things, but there are three things. So there's speech in itself, speech. and then free or freedom, and then hate. Speech, freedom, and hate. We will look at these three and how they produce these two sort of terms, free speech and hate speech. Speech. Let's start with speech. I am speeching right now, I guess. Talking in public, expressing myself. A lot of focus on speech. Speech. What could be some alternative to speech? Why so much talk about speech in itself? What would be an alternative to speech? One alternative could be action. We often pair speech with action. We say things like, action speaks louder than words. We say a lot of talk, but little action. We say things like, now is not the time for talking, now is the time for acting. So speech is often paired with action. Speech can also be sort of paired with silence. To just pause. But silence is not only pausing, but because pausing can be very active. Silence can be that we sort of stand back and allow for something to happen. We may talk about silence as inaction. The inaction to do something about the situation. And that's not really pausing. Pausing is a very active thing. Inaction is just, it's passive. It's sort of closing our eyes. Pausing is not to close our eyes. Quite the opposite. Pausing is to sort of actually actively take a moment to reflect upon what we want to do and then actually do it. That's pausing. So speech, action, inaction, allowing for something to happen, being passive. So it seems that speech is sort of connecting activity and inactivity. We may be inactive and then through speech become active. Or we might be active and through speech become inactive. So it seems like speech are sort of connecting these two, action and inaction. So in a way, maybe we could say that speech is a form of weight and balance. To be centered down in the middle. Okay. Freedom. We talk of free speech. Freedom. Wow, what a word. Freedom. To be free. This is a vague word. It's sort of like could be anything and nothing at the same time. To be free. It's difficult to talk about being free without talking about being free in relation to something. Being free from A, being free from B, or being free to say A or being free to say be. So it would seem that free speech, freedom, is very different depending on freedom to speech A or freedom to speech B. So to just be sort of to promote free speech, it's a very vague thing to be pro, to be for. It needs to be more specific than that. It's not really a useful term if we do not get more specific about it. We should be free to speak so and so, or we should be free to speak in spite of so and so. So I think it needs to be more specific, because freedom in itself is to it's an easily misunderstood term. It's easy to fool one another using the term free or freedom. It needs to be more concrete. Free speech for this and this, or free speech in spite of this and this. Okay, hate speech. I try to check in with my weight and balance now as I talk about these things. Hate speech. This is also a somewhat difficult term. It's like, hate speech, do we mean that we are full of hate as we are speaking? Or is it that someone perceives our speech as hateful? It has this sort of... Are we talking about hate speech as a subject, as an active part? Or are we talking about hate speech from the perspective of the object or the sort of recipient of the speech? Here as well, it's quite vague what we're really talking about. Hateful speech, hate speech. And right now we are talking a lot about free speech and hate speech. And there are so many other forms of speech that we are not talking about. We are not talking as much about loving speech. We're not talking about creative speech. We're not talking about specific speech. We're not talking about innovative speech, personal speech, refreshing speech, pausing speech. We're not talking about sort of careful speech, mindful speech, considerate speech, respectful speech, powerful speech. You see? So speech can be sort of molded into all these different sort of shapes. It's very pliant speech. And it's easy to lose our weight and balance when we only talk about free speech and hate speech. It becomes a very narrow, sort of simplistic view on speech. And both free speech and hate speech, I don't know what you think, perhaps you disagree with me right now, but my feeling is that both free speech and hate speech has this sort of quality to them that it's easy to lose our weight and balance when thinking about them. Free speech, it's easy to think about sort of, oh, I need to be free to say so and we sort of lose our weight and balance. Or hate speech, we might say, oh, that speech is hateful towards so and we lose our weight and balance and become, worked up about it. So free speech and hate speech are real things. We all feel them. But the question is, when we connect with our weight and balance, might we not be able to sort of nuance both free speech and hate speech by being more specific and being sort of taking more influences, sort of talking about more kinds of speech than just free speech and hate speech. At least now, when I sort of feel connected with my weight and balance, it feels sort of logical to nuance the discussion. Not only fight for free speech and not only sort of work against hate speech, but sort of some new influences. It feels right, in my body at least, to do so. To sort of be balanced between action and inaction via speech. Action and inaction, and speech in between. That's it for today. Thank you.